Hello, everyone. Welcome to So What? I'm Ellen March with Sulky of America. I hope you're having a creative start to your week and happy Tuesday, everyone. Let's see, I have a lot to talk about today because, school is about to be out for the summer. That is just crazy to even think about. So I have come up with a few graduation gift ideas to share with you today. And really, you can make these for almost any time of year. Quite honestly, you don't have to make them for graduates. They just really lend themselves really well to personalizing for graduation. So I'm going to be presenting them to you that way, but I'll also give you some tips and hints for how to take these projects and the inspiration that I'm going to share today and apply that to lots of different gift ideas. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Also, I want to share with you some new ideas or some new projects really that I have come up with for our patriotic patchwork webcast that's happening in a couple short weeks. On May 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be going live with the American Sewing Guild to bring you our patriotic patchwork webcast. This is an absolutely free event. All you have to do is register for it because we present our webcasts and videocasts and sessions over on our education platform, which is sewingonline.sulky.com. And I linked directly to registering for this webcast in the description of today's post. So you can easily click on over. All you need to do is fill out your name and email, and you can register for this event. As long as you're registered, you will get a free embroidery design, which is our America machine embroidery design. And you can use that to make a quilt label or to further embellish your patriotic patchwork panel. A few things I do want to address about the projects that we're going to create using the kit for this webcast. First of all, this is what the kit looks like. It is composed of a charm pack, which are 5-inch squares of pre-cut fabrics of these beautiful red, white, and blue batik fabrics. You get a full charm pack of that. And then you also get 16 individual charms of a low volume white blender. So there's numerous prints within the pack of white fabrics. You can't really tell, they just look like plain white in this photo. But when you do order up your kit and it arrives, you'll see that they each have a little bit different pattern on them. So it lends itself well to mixing into the batik fabrics to create the patchwork panel. That's the technique that we're going to be going over in the webcast. So you're going to learn how to create gridded stabilizer in different sizes and then create a piecing plan. So you can create a flag, you can create a heart, or I'm going to show you some different sort of quilt patterns you can emulate with your piecing plan as well. And I'll show you some samples for that in just a second. But something I do want to address, because I've gotten a lot of feedback about the orientation of the blue section of this particular flag, of this piecing plan. So this is a vertical orientation of the flag. And I did a lot of research on flag etiquette before bringing this project to everyone. And everything that I found said that if you're going to hang your flag or create a flag to hang in a window or a door or something like this, and you go with this vertical orientation, then the blue section needs to be in the upper left-hand corner. So that's why I've gotten some feedback from people who say that I have not placed the blue section in the correct orientation. So if you want to hang your flag horizontally, the way that the flag, flies on a flagpole, then the blue square needs to be in the upper left corner. That's how we are all envisioning the American flag. But if you're going to hang it this way vertically, which is how I am hanging mine because it fits on my garden flag in front of my home, then you want to place that blue section in the upper left-hand corner. So a few people have come to me saying that the blue corner is not in the right spot, etc., etc. So I do want to let you all know I did a lot of flag etiquette research, and I'm happy to post the references that I used so that you can read about it as well if it concerns you, or you can simply create a different piecing plan and hang your flag horizontally and put the blue in the upper left corner, and all will be right with the world. So I just wanted to address that because I have heard from a few people. So if you do want to make that flag panel, which you have lots of options for the piecing plan that you create using that same kit. If you do want to make the flag one, you can create a piecing plan based on how you want to hang it and how you want to view it. Okay. All right. So Joan is saying Facebook is not working. Well, I'm sorry about that. I hope everybody can hop onto YouTube if Facebook is giving you a problem. Apologies for that. You know, I'm just baffled at some of these social media platforms. It's a great place to reach a lot of people and to have you all watch, you know, where you like to view things. So when it goes great, it goes great. All right. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay, so speaking of this kit, you have enough materials in this kit to create one panel. The panel can be used as a wall hanging, a table topper, a placemat, a couple of mug rugs, an applique for a jacket, a pillow front. You can also turn your panel into a tote bag, which is what I've done as well. In addition to the fabrics, you will get a pack of Soft and Sheer Extra Stabilizer. It's a fusible, lightweight stabilizer, and we're going to use that stabilizer for our grid to place our patchwork, to create our piecing plan, and then to also fuse our fabric squares to it before we even get to the sewing. This is what allows you to have perfect seams, perfectly matched corners every single time. So the great thing about using a charm pack for your pre-cut squares is from there, you can either use those 5-inch squares and make a large scale patchwork. You can cut your 5-inch squares into 4. So you'd have 4 2.5-inch squares, which is what I did for the flag and for the heart that you see on this image here, that heart panel that I put on the back of a jacket. I also made that heart panel into a really pretty pillow. Also, that charm pack allows you to either choose all red fabrics for your patchwork and pair the red with the white blender prints. That's really pretty for the heart. You could also swap the white blender prints for the blue blender prints for the blue batiks and have your red heart surrounded by blue fabrics. You can also make this flag and interchange, have some blue, and then, of course, your red and white stripes. Or you can mix and match the entire charm pack and create something like what I've done here with this tote bag. Now with the tote bag, I went even smaller on the squares. So instead of 2.5 inches, I have 1.5-inch squares, and I adjusted my grid accordingly. So I was able to plan this piecing pattern on my gridded stabilizer, fuse it, and then stitch it in place and quilt it. I used a really pretty Blendables thread, our 30-weight Blendables thread, which also comes in the kit. You get 6 spools of sulky 50-weight cotton thread that you can use for your piecing. You can also use that thread for quilting. So if you decide to do a different type of quilting rather than, let's say this gridded quilting that I did here, all, straight lines, horizontal and vertical. You can choose either to use the America blendables that come with the kit, or you can choose one or more of the 50 weight cotton threads. So the cotton threads come in red and white and gray and navy and blue. And this is a great sort of patriotic yet neutral thread pack to just have on hand as well, because you'll have plenty of thread to get through a lot of projects with this. So if you go a little bit smaller, like the 1.5 inch grid, you'll have even more fabric to play with and more panels that you can create. You might want to grab up some extra yard packs of the Soft and Sheer Extra, because that 1 yard pack is going to be enough to create one panel. All right. Now, if you're making this tote bag, you can probably get 2 panels out of that 1 yard fabric, and then you'll be able to create a panel for your tote exterior front and the tote exterior back. Now, since I had already made several samples for the webcast, I actually used all of the leftover fabrics after creating my flag panel to create this tote front. Now, I did not have enough to create the tote back, so I used a plain piece of fabric and just quilted it in the same way that I quilted the front. And you can see the pretty blendables thread, how there's different colors every 2.5 to 5 inches on that thread spool. It makes a really cool special effect on your tote bag or on your panel. So this I also trimmed out using an old pair of jeans. I know I'm always talking about using denim with patriotic projects because, I don't know, it's a little bit even more Americana than the red, white, and blue, dare I say, to use some denim. So actually made these straps out of one leg of denim jeans, and then I padded the strap with a little bit of batting. I learned this tip years and years ago. I made an Amy Butler pattern, and she put batting or fusible fleece, one of the two, inside of the tote straps. I think it might have been a backpack or something I was making. And it was life-changing for me. I was like, how am I not padding the straps of every single bag that I make? So I learned that tip while making that pattern, and I've incorporated it into a lot of my future patterns because it just makes it so much more comfortable to wear over time. You don't have this tote digging into your shoulder as much. So that's what I did here. There's just a little bit of batting in between the layers of the strap. And then I also use the denim to create the side panel, which turns into the gusset, which gives the tote a little bit more shaping. So this pattern, really the instructions for this tote will be given out during the webcast. So you will learn how to make this tote only by registering for that webcast. The pattern will not be available otherwise. So if you're interested in creating this, definitely register for the webcast. I just noticed a stray thread. And if you're anything like me, you can't stand it, and you've got to trim that as soon as you find it. Otherwise, I'll never find it again. All right, taken care of. So that's the tote that I made with the leftovers of that kit. So you really get a lot out of that kit. Oh, I do want to mention, I did have to supplement a couple of the colors because I was running low on the red. Because after making that red heart panel, I was really low on the red batik fabrics. So some of these are not included in your kit. Like this is just a red cotton fabric print. And then I added in, these aren't solids. These are actually like really low volume blender prints. I added in a red and a blue, but the rest is all the batik and that white blender print. All right, great technique for scrap fabrics. So I also made a little mug rug, just kind of following the same piecing plan that I did for the tote. This is out of some of the leftovers from the tote. So you can see I have that additional just cotton fabric from my stash, and then all the leftover little squares of the batik red, white, and blue prints. So you can use this as a little mug rug, or you can add this to your tote if you also run out of squares to create your tote exterior. You can top stitch this on the back of your tote and have a little exterior pocket for your sunglasses or keys or whatnot. Or, of course, you can sew it into the lining and have an interior pocket on your tote as well. But I just made mine freestanding as a little mug rug, quilted it in the same way that I quilted the tote bag. So it's a little companion mug rug piece. But just for scale, you can see the flag panel is quite larger than the tote. And then I put in a little hanging sleeve just for my garden hanger so that I can hang this out for Memorial Day and 4th of July and all those great patriotic holidays. Really, any time of year, you can display your American flag. And then this is the denim jacket. All I did was top stitch the heart panel onto the back of the jacket. And it's a really cool focal point for, trying to grab the other side, for a denim jacket. And I quilted this using the Americana or America Blendables thread that comes in the kit. And I just quilted it in a heart pattern, just concentric hearts, equally distant from each other. And I think it kind of accentuates the shape of the heart a little bit. So again, you can use that panel in so many different ways. It also makes a really pretty pillow as well. Maybe you have an outdoor bench or something like that you can display your pretty patchwork pillow on. So again, the kit can make so many different projects just by starting with the panel that I'm going to show you how to create during that webcast. And also, the kit does come with batting. Thank you for saying that, Marianne. It does come with a rectangle of batting to create your quilty panel, but it does not come with backing fabric or fabric for your binding. Now, I will say, depending on the type of panel or the piecing plan that you create, you'll have leftover charm squares no matter what. You might have enough to cut them and piece them together to create a scrappy binding. But I don't want to just commit to that and say everyone will have enough, because it really depends on the piecing plan that you choose and the size of squares that you're going to go with for your grid. So the kit is not fat quarters, Linda. The kit is charm squares. So these are 5-inch squares of fabric. So you can cut them into quarters and have 2.5-inch squares for your piecing plan. You can cut 1.5-inch squares from them. It just gives you a lot of leeway. And the great thing about making your own grid on your stabilizer is you can choose whatever size you want for your piecing plan. Marcia's asking, where do we get the pattern for the tote? So the tote instructions are going to be shown during the webcast. So be sure to register for the webcast if you want to learn how to make that tote. For now, it's going to only be available during that webcast. So I will say too that if you can't join live, register anyway, because then you will get access to the entire presentation, which is going to give you instructions for the tote, instructions for the heart, instructions for the flag, and just the overall technique instructions for this gridded stabilizer technique. All right, let's see what type of batting. So it's a low loft batting. I think it's warm and natural, and it does come with the kit. All right. And actually the batting is in this photo I just noticed. It's just behind everything. So that sort of tan color that you're seeing underneath everything is the batting. I thought it was the background of the photo. All right, that's funny. Linda says, those look like 1-inch squares. Exactly. So you start with 1.5-inch squares, and then when you piece everything together, they end up being 1-inch squares. So you can do very small, intricate patchwork using this technique. And it makes it so much easier to manage because we are using that stabilizer as our base, that gridded stabilizer. So you'll learn all of this during the webcast on May 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, if you can't join live on that day or you have to leave early or something, all of our events are recorded. So as soon as the live event ends, I upload the recording to that event page, and then you have all access to it. So you can always refer back to it by accessing your personal library at sewingonline.sulky.com. So if you've never joined us for a webcast before, I encourage you to sign up for this one. It's going to be really great. We're also partnering with the American Sewing Guild on this webcast, and they're going to be giving away an amazing door prize. They're giving away a 1-year membership to American Sewing Guild. So if you're already a member, that will just elongate your membership. And if you're not a member, you can check that out too. So it's a really, really great event. And there's also going to be a second door prize from Sulky, and that will be revealed on the day of the event. So fun times, and I hope you will all join and make sure that you are signed up. All right, so let's see. Shannon says, I'm all registered now to order the kit. Yes, and Linda, the link to the class or the webcast is in the description of today's post. I hope I put it in there. If not, I will make sure to add it. If you're not seeing it, you can head to sewingonline.sulky.com, and then at the top, it'll say Education Offerings, and you'll find Patriotic Patchwork right in there, because now I'm second guessing myself, and maybe I didn't add it to the description of today's post, which is crazy. So anyway, typically I put all the links to everything I'm talking about in the description of today's post, and all you need to do is click on that See More button, or it might just say More if you're watching on YouTube, and then the whole description will pop out there, and you'll see links for everything. Hopefully the link to Patriotic Patchwork is in there, but if not, I will add it, and I'll also put it in the comments here as well. All right, let's see. Yes, padding on the straps is heavenly. I'm telling you what, it was like a new, I don't know, light bulb moment for me when I made that pattern. So that's, also such a great reason, I guess, to work with patterns from different designers is you learn all these hacks or all these great little tips from each one of them. And then you can, it just really fuels the rest of your sewing, and you can apply those things to everything that you make. So perfect. All right. Karen's registered. Perfect. And the freebie is cute for the webcast. Thank you. Yeah, it's a machine embroidery design, and it says America in big block letters, and then within it is images from the American flag. So it all really goes together well. Plus partnering with the American Sewing Guild. I mean, we're just going all America with it, right? But again, you can also mix and match your batik fabrics. You can use all the reds and whites. You can use all the blue and whites. You can use just blue and red, for your piecing plan. You can create something more like the tote and less like a flag. If you happen to not be from the US, or if you want to just do something a little bit different. So lots and lots of options for the panel that you create during our webcast. Okay, let's see. Colleen, thank you, she says. And we also get a lot of great tips from you. So appreciate that. All right, great to see you, Colleen. Okay, so let's get to our first project of the day, because I have 4 different project ideas to share with you, so we better get to it. And as I mentioned, these are great for graduation gifts, but they're going to work for so many different types of gifts. So make sure to keep your comments coming in, because I do have a great giveaway today for one lucky viewer who is watching and commenting and somehow engaging with the post. That's all you have to do to be automatically eligible to win today's freebie gift from Sulky, which is a rainbow assortment pack of Sulky Felty. That's right, it's valued at $16.99, and you can use it in the first project that I'm going to show off today, which are some greeting cards. So obviously, any time of year is a great time to gift a greeting card, but I love the idea of doing a graduation card that you embroider on your embroidery machine, and it really becomes a keepsake gift for the graduate. You can also make these for teachers who might be retiring, or teachers that are just finishing up another school year, and maybe try and have all the kids in the class sign it. That becomes a really nice keepsake gift for the teacher or for the student or graduate to, have them keep this in a memento box or something for all time. So to start off with these graduation cards, you're going to need some cardstock. The cardstock is going to be the base of the card. And then you're also going to need some watercolor paper. This is really the secret sauce for machine embroidery on paper, is using this great watercolor paper. It really takes the stitching well without perforating it. You also want to be sure to choose an embroidery design that is really specifically digitized for cards, if you can find them. Now, I put a link to Designs by Juju to their card catalog, because they have so many great greeting card designs, and they are really digitized for either watercolor paper or lighter weight cardstock, but you can also sew them out on Sulky Felty and then apply the Felty to the cardstock. Felty is really, really great for cards. It's nice and lightweight. It gives a little bit of texture and softness to the card, but it does obviously add a little bit of bulk. So if you do plan on putting this in an envelope and shipping it out to somebody, you might need a different type of envelope, or maybe even a little bit of padding on that envelope when you ship it. All right. So you'll also obviously need some great Sulky thread. You can choose polydeco thread or rayon thread if you prefer. And then some helpful notions, some Sulky clear embroidery tape or painter's tape, a glue stick, and our Sulky KK2000. You also need some stabilizer, of course. We're going to start off by only hooping our stabilizer. And for this, you can use Sulky Cutaway Plus or Sulky Fuse and Stitch. You want a cutaway permanent stabilizer that's going to remain with that watercolor paper over the course of the project's life. Okay, it's going to help stabilize that paper, keep it intact, and hold on to all of the thread and accept all those needle penetrations. Okay, so another thing I want to mention is we have an entire course on embroidering greeting cards. I linked directly to it in the description of today's live stream post. And in that embroidered greeting card session, which is in partnership with with Designs by Juju, you get 6 greeting card designs. You get multiple video lessons. I'm just going to give you a really quick overview on one way to embroider a card. But in that session, you're going to get many more ways of embroidering cards, including applique with Felty, using Felty as a base, and different ways of creating cards, including postcards, plus different sizes of cards. So the designs that you get in the embroidered greeting card session are really great for springtime, Mother's Day. Some of them have no lettering or words at all on the card. So they're really great for any time of year. There's a card that says thinking of you, a card that has a bouquet of flowers, a card, a Happy Easter card, which I realize is not as timely now that Easter is behind us, but you can use that for the coming years if you so choose. There's also an entire lesson on customizing a card with any design that you like, with or without software. So you'll also get a blank card design that you can fill with your own message. All right. Penny's asking, what is water paper? It's actually watercolor paper. You'll find it in the art supply area of, your craft store. They might even have it at multi-purpose stores like Target or Walmart. You do want a sort of thicker watercolor paper, and you can experiment with a couple of different ones. If you are going to join or did register for the embroidered greeting card session, we do recommend some of the papers in there with some links for them. All right. So after we hoop up our stabilizer, you're going to put your hoop onto the machine and embroider step 1 of your card design. Again, make sure you're using a card design, which is the placement line for your watercolor paper, or for your felty if you choose to use your rainbow assortment pack that maybe you won here today. All right. Debbie's asking, are these sessions videos or just written instructions? They're actually both. So our embroidery and quilting and sewing and serging sessions over at sewingonline.sulky.com. They are extensive video lessons with multiple sections within each lesson for you to read and watch and interact with. So each lesson page may or may not have a video associated with it, but there are several videos within the session on different sections. And then there's also written instructions, as well as live links to other resources and products. You also, get your freebies, which may or may not include patterns, machine embroidery designs, things like that come with the course. And then on each lesson page, there's a Q&A area. So if you get stuck on that lesson, you can message us directly. We will know what lesson you're on, and we can respond to you accordingly. So it's a really great way to work your way through a particular technique and or project or projects with all the support, all the videos, all of the written instructions. So no matter how you like to learn, you can work your way through the session. And the way that we structure these is there are natural starting and stopping points within each lesson, and the platform remembers where you left off. And the great thing about these is the content never expires. So as long as you are registered for that particular session, you can access it at any time, and you can go in and let's say you just want to review lesson 3, or you forgot the card finishing steps, so you can head to the last lesson, or you want to review the software lesson, things like this. You can just go in and pick and choose which ones to review. You don't have to go through the whole thing all at once to find what you're looking for. So they're really, really expertly crafted. Great ways to learn at home, in the comfort of your own home at your own pace. Okay, so after we've done our placement for our watercolor paper, we are going to add some KK2000 to the back of the paper. You just need a light misting, and since we are using the watercolor paper, it holds up to water or to the KK2000. It's not going to harm it or moisten it, right? So we just need a light misting of the KK2000 on the back side of the paper, or if you're using felty, you will do that as well. We're going to place our paper over the top of those placement stitches. Now, a great tip is to not cut your watercolor paper until after your embroidery is complete. That way, if you're off a little bit on the placement, even with those placement stitches there, it can happen. Or if your design is a little bit off center, you can always trim that up afterwards. So I would wait until your embroidery is done to trim up your card. All right, so you're gonna embroider your design, and the other thing about designs that are embroidered specifically for cards is that they're digitized with a little bit longer stitch length so that your chances of perforating the paper go down exponentially when you have longer stitches, okay? It also looks really beautiful on the felty as well, so don't worry about that. But you will notice there's fewer sort of fill stitches within the design. They're more of a sketchier fill than like a satin stitch fill, but you still get a really great coverage on that watercolor paper. So once the card design is complete, now you can go ahead and remove your hoop from the machine, remove your stabilizer from the hoop. We're going to keep it intact though, and we're going to trim up the cardstock with the stabilizer so that the stabilizer remains the same side, or not cardstock, your watercolor paper, so that the stabilizer stays the same size as your paper. So you will trim up your card according to the design. Looks beautiful. And now we're going to prepare the cardstock backing. So if you want to create a folded card, you'll take your cardstock, fold it to the size that you need for your card. If you want to create a postcard instead, again, trim up your cardstock to the size needed, leaving a bit of a border so that you see the pretty color of your cardstock as another border area for your card. Once you have done that, you can trim up your cardstock to the size needed. Again, a little bit larger than your watercolor paper, and make sure that it fits nicely. Once you have everything looking nice, you're going to turn your watercolor paper over. And I want you to notice that none of the jump threads are clipped or trimmed on the wrong side of the card. And that's just really going to help when you're working with watercolor paper, anything really that's rigid like that, you know, cardstock, watercolor paper, etc. When you leave those jump threads intact, it actually helps with the integrity of the design. You're not going to run the risk of, you know, accidentally trimming too close, and then over time the stitches on the right side of the card start to unravel. We don't want that. So we're going to keep all that intact, and we're going to use our glue stick all over the back of that watercolor paper and then apply it to the cardstock backing. And there you have your finished graduation card. So now you can personalize a note for the inside. Really cute to have all the family members sign this, so it really becomes, you know, an heirloom that's to be cherished. The graduate can put it with their cap and gown or what have you. So really, really cute way of personalizing something for the graduate without having to, or without, you know, creating a full-blown hand-sewn gift. Maybe you put a nice size check inside or some cash, and I guarantee you they would love it. All right, so any other questions about working with this watercolor paper or embroidering cards specifically can really be answered in our embroidered greeting card session over at sewingonline.sulky.com. And again, if you register for that session, you get 6 card designs and a blank design that you can personalize any which way you like. You can also grab up one of these other card designs, like these 2 graduation card designs from Designs by Juju, and you can use those and work your way through the session with lots of different card designs. All right. So, phew, that's our card. So that's graduation gift idea number 1. Number 2 is, oh, these are just the finished cards. I guess I forgot to show you. So we have congratulations and way to go. And again, these are designs from Designs by Juju, who we partnered with on our embroidered greeting cards session. So all the videos within that session are from Designs by Juju. All of the designs, all of the digitizing expertise. Really, really love partnering with them. They have wonderful tutorials and wonderful designs. All right, so project number 2 is a cute little drawstring pouch. And this is really great for a graduate of any age, from kindergarten all the way up to college. It is a smaller size drawstring bag. So, I mean, you can wear this as a backpack on your back, or you can simply just, draw the top closed and throw it in a different bag, duffel bag, or tote. The size is really perfect for a pair of shoes. So if you have a graduate or, someone you need to make a gift for, maybe they're in sports where they wear cleats or different shoes. Maybe they're in dance and they have to swap their shoes out. This is so great for keeping your shoes separate from the other stuff in your bag. After I made it, I just thought, man, this is the perfect size for a pair of shoes. So I wanted to share that with you. But of course, you can make this as like a little swim bag. You can make it out of laminated cotton or oilcloth so that it withstands water. And throw your swimsuit in here and a pair of goggles, for a day at the pool, and keep everything kind of neat and tidy and away from your other stuff. Or, of course, you can just use it on its own. It's great for just toting a couple of things on a bike ride, or you get the idea. One of my daughters said, hey, this is a great movie tote, because they like to bring a little stuffy, maybe smuggle in a little piece of candy. No, I don't do that, of course. So anyway, you get the idea. It's a multi-purpose drawstring bag. It features a really cute applique design, and I linked to our blog post at blog.sulky.com so you can grab up this cute little rainbow and heart applique template if you choose. Another great idea is to take your kids' artwork. This is really great for graduating. Let's say you have artwork from your child from elementary school days, and they're about to graduate high school. You can take that artwork, photocopy it, use it as an applique template, and give them a little keepsake gift of their own artwork on their little drawstring bag. Very cute idea. So that's kind of what this was modeled after. So little rainbow may or may not have been drawn by a child in art class. All right. And then you can create a little applique of it. So if you want to create this rainbow, you can grab up the free applique template at blog.sulky.com. And then you will transfer that template onto the paper side of Sulky Perfect Applique Fusible Web to create your appliques. Then you will fuse those pieces to the wrong side of your chosen fabrics. I went with a gray to teal, and then also this little heart is made out of Sulky Felty, just for a little texture and dimension for the little heart. Great for if you have a little scrap of Felty lying around, you can use it for your little heart and then base that color or incorporate that color into your other fabrics. Or of course, you can do a more traditional rainbow and do your red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. You have the idea. All right, so first off, we're going to create those applique templates. You're going to peel the paper backing off of your fusible web after you have everything cut out, and then arrange them to make sure you have all of your colors. Everything looks great together. Then you're going to arrange them onto your fabric. So for my drawstring bag, I used 2 rectangles of a heavyweight canvas fabric. I really like that for a shoe bag or just any kind of sturdy, durable bag. I don't really recommend using just a quilting cotton for this. It's just going to be so floppy when you're wearing it and using it. But again, something like a laminated cotton, an oilcloth, a canvas, because also the bag is not lined. So you are going to see the interior seams. And I'll show you how I serged my seam allowances. just to kind of give them a nice finish. You can also use an overlock or zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, but you will be seeing the inside. And since it's not lined, you want a sturdy fabric that's going to hold up to the applique as well as just hold up to wear and tear. Okay, so we're going to place our applique onto the canvas fabric. I should mention, if you are using a coated fabric like a laminated cotton or oilcloth, you will not be able to fuse your applique to it. It will melt that coating. So be aware of that. You'll want to just either use some KK2000 spray adhesive, put your applique down, and then sew it. But do not fuse or put your iron to the coating of those fabrics. All right, once we have our applique in place, if we are using a fabric that we can iron, we will fuse that down. And now we're just going to sew our appliques down. So for mine, I did a raw edge applique and I just straight stitched inside of each one of my applique pieces. You could use a blanket stitch. You can use a decorative stitch. You can use a cute little wave stitch. There are so many decorative stitches on your sewing machine, I'm sure. Most of them don't get very much play, so this is really the time to have fun with it. So I chose Sulky Poly Deco thread for my applique, and I used the same color for all of the rainbow stripes, but you could use a Blendables thread. You could swap out your thread for each fabric color. The choices are endless. Okay. So we're going to sew all of our appliques down. And now this is when I finish the edges of my fabric, since we are going to see the inside and we want to reduce fraying. And we also just want to make it look a little bit prettier when we're opening it up and using it. So I use my serger and I just serge finished the entire perimeter of both of my exterior rectangles. Again, you could use a zigzag stitch or an overlock stitch on your sewing machine if you have that. All right, so now I've got my exterior with applique and then my plain exterior. All of my edges are serged and I can start the construction. So now I'm going with a 30 weight cotton Blendables thread. The colors coordinate perfectly with my design, and that's what I'm using for the construction and for my decorative top stitching on my casing. So it just gives it a little bit more color, and the thicker thread is really great for this thicker fabric. I also use this to top stitch my straps as well, which I'll show you momentarily. All right, so we need a little loop at the lower edge. This is what's going to hold our knot in place for our backpack. So you can either tie your straps around it and knot the end, or depending on how wide your loop is, you can just knot the ends and they'll stay in place. So for my little loop, I used little scraps of fold over elastic, but you could also use a little scrap of ribbon, or even just a fabric tube where the ends are enclosed, maybe a leftover piece of binding, something like that. And you're going to place this about 2 inches or so up from the lower edges of one of your exterior pieces. Once you have your loops in place, you can baste them so they don't go anywhere. And now we're going to sew the side seams and the lower edge seam of our bag. When we sew the side seams, our little loops are going to get sewn into that side seam. And we're also going to have our lower edge seam stitched. So now we're just going to box the corner a little bit. And when I say box the corner, this is what we're doing. We're adding this little box, which kind of gives your bag a little bit more sort of structure or room in it. You can skip this step and you will just have a straight bag with corners. I like to always box a tote when I can. It just gives you a little bit more room in the tote when you're using it. So to do that, we are going to align imagine this is wrong sides together. Actually, I'll just take it out. We're going to align our side seam with our lower edge seam. So you kind of take your two rectangles, kind of move them out like this, and align that side seam with that lower edge seam. And I'm making sure that my seam allowances are going in the same direction so that it's nice and smooth along the tote. And once you do that, you're going to stitch over that little corner point, and it's about an inch from the point that you're going to stitch down. And that's what's going to give your tote this little bit of dimension and a little bit of base, right? All right, so you're going to do that on both sides for your lower edge corners. And now we're going to create our upper edge casing seam. So we're going to double fold that upper edge toward the wrong side, and then we're going to top stitch along the fold line as well as about 1/8 of an inch from the upper edge. And this gives us a casing so that we can thread our straps through the upper edge to create that drawstring effect. All right, so after we have top stitched this upper edge casing, this is what our bag looks like. We got that casing, we have our little loops along the bottom, and we have our boxed corners. All right, so now just between our casing top stitching, we're going to remove the stitches along the side seam, just between those top stitching lines. So I carefully use my curved tip squeezer to get in there and snip away those threads just inside the casing. But you can also use a seam ripper. Just be really careful that you don't slice through the fabrics. All right, so now for the ties. I actually used some leftover pre-made bias binding. You know, just like many of you out there, I hope, because you are my support group, I have a real hard problem throwing things away. When I have just 20 inches of bias binding left, or, you know, a half-yard piece or something like that, I hold on to it and use it for something like this. So you want 2 equal lengths, and all the dimensions, everything that you need are in the blog post that I linked to, so you can head on over when we're done live streaming here and get the whole tutorial for this little drawstring bag. But you want 2 equal lengths of the sort of drawstring of your choice. You can use ribbon. You can use bias binding like I did, or bias tape. You can use leftover quilt binding. You can use cording. So many possibilities for what you use for your drawstring tote. I just happen to use pre-made bias tape. You want a relatively narrow width of bias tape. Mine is just under 1/2 inch wide. All right, so since I'm using bias tape, I need to stitch that folded edge down. So I just top stitched along both long edges of my bias tape to sort of prepare it. Now I'm going to stick a safety pin through one of the ends of the bias tape, and I'm going to thread it through that casing seam. I'm going to thread it through so that it goes in and out the same opening. And then I'm going to match those short ends, and you can clip them together, or at this point, you can knot them together as well if you're using that fold over elastic. Okay, then we want to repeat with our second strap, but we're going to go through the opposite hole of the casing. So the opposite side seam casing opening. So now you're going to match the 2 ends on either side and go through your little loop that you created at the bottom. Then you can knot the ends together. So if you've already knotted your ends together, if you're using fold over elastic, it will stretch enough to go over that knot. Or you can wait till you have pulled it through your little loop to knot it. Or again, you can just knot it around the loop. So one goes in the loop, one stays out, and you knot it together. All right. That's probably what you'll need to do if you're using cording, because it just won't be wide enough for your knot to catch inside of that loop. Everyone with me? Okay. So once you've knotted that and you've done it on both sides, whoops, that's our third, fourth, I don't know where we are, project. Once you've knotted it on the end of both sides, your drawstring tote is done. So you can see I have my 2 little knots here on both sides. You can cinch it up, can wear it like a little backpack, throw it into another bag with a pair of shoes in it. It's great for travel. It's great for sports, for dance, all of those things. So great graduation gift idea. And I love the idea of using your kids' artwork, maybe from, elementary school, if they are a middle school graduate, or you get the idea. I'm sure you have something like this that they have maybe created. You can even ask them to create something. If you have a kindergartner who's, going through a kindergarten continuation or whatever they call it these days, kindergarten graduation, maybe ask them to draw you a picture and give them, a little guidance of, what to, how to format the photo or how to format the picture. And then you can use that on their special tote bag. A great idea for a teacher as well, because then they're getting a little something from the student, a little bit of their artwork on a little travel tote. So, yep, twill tape works great for drawstrings. Thank you, Maureen. Yep, double fold bias tape works really well. That's what I used, Linda. So, perfect. Okay, looks like a functional bag. Yep, you can use it for so many different things. So, really great idea for graduates, or really for a gift for any time of year, or just make one for yourself. If you happen to be, a traveler, maybe you're coming with us on our Craft Tours Germany trip for the Christmas markets this winter, and, you plan on bringing a second pair of shoes, or you want to bring your swimsuit and, something like that for the hotel. This is a really great thing to just throw in your bag and have that be a little bit separate from the rest of your items. All right, so another great, speaking of kindergarten graduation and graduation for, smaller kids who don't get a cap and a gown, right? They even have graduations for preschool. It's the cutest thing. If they're not getting a cap and gown, it might be fun to make them a little graduation cap. So we have a really fun little tutorial on our blog. It's a really simple, crafty project. You might even be able to get the kids involved in making this as well. And it's a little graduation cap that you can make out of Craftex craft paper. This is another type of crafty paper that you can sew with. If you're new to Craftex, it's Craftex with a K. And I've used it to make things like tote bags and wallets. It's a really flexible craft paper. You can actually take the piece of paper and scrunch it all up in your hands and then give it a little bit of dry iron, and nothing happens to it. It retains its shape. And then you have little crinkles in it and stuff that kind of make it have the look of faux leather. So it's really cool stuff. We have a lot of projects and blog posts and things like that at blog.sulky.com using Craftex, and this is one of them. So this was actually made back in the COVID year of 2020 when kids weren't really, having in-person graduations and things like that. We were still, like homeschooling and things like that. But I think it's a really cute idea for maybe you're having a little, party for your preschooler who's moving on to elementary school, or maybe your middle schooler is graduating and heading up to high school and they don't get a cap and gown. This is a way to personalize a cute little paper cap take some cute photos with them, and might just be something that they also want to keep as, a memento of the occasion. So you take your craft text and you cut a square out of it, and this is the top of your cap. Then you're going to cut a rectangle of it, and this is going to be the round part of the cap. You're going to cut into that rectangle so that you can kind of smush it down and fit it onto that square. So here's what the craft text look like. You can buy it in rolls. You're also going to need your tassel of some kind. You can create your own tassel using some really heavyweight, sulky 12-weight thread. And that way you can make your tassel in whatever colors you want. Or you can buy a pre-made tassel from the home dec department, something like this. So really you want like some braid or something that you can create your own tassel from. All right, so after you have created your square and then you have your rectangle that you're going to sew together into your little tube, you're going to clip into that tube along one long edge and kind of smush it down over the back of your craft text square. Now I should have already mentioned that you can embellish the square. Notice that in the picture I first showed you, there's class of 2020, and then the child's name, and then the school that they attended. You can use machine embroidery for this. You can use a font, decorative font stitch on your sewing machine and program a little saying or their name or something on it to really personalize it. So then you're going to have your tube that is glued to the back of your embellished square, which is the top of your cap. You're going to poke a hole in there in the center and thread your tassel or your braid through the little hole and tie a little knot. Put a little dab of glue, hot glue, craft glue, tacky glue to kind of secure your knot. Susie is saying, is there enough in one package to make the cap? Absolutely. All right. Let's see, where did I leave off here with this image? All right, so once you have that, then you can create the tassel. So you just kind of undo the braid a little bit, tie a knot. You could put a little bead in there before you fray it. And then you're creating your own little tassel to hang off of your paper graduation cap or your craft paper. It really is a nice thick paper. It almost looks like it's a bunch of paper fibers compressed. But again, you can sew through it, you can crumple it up, you can really give it a beating and it retains its shape. It's really cool stuff. All right, so then you'll have your little tassel so your little person can just move it on over when they graduate. And it's a really special thing for them to have that, again, you could personalize any way you like. So that's our graduation idea number 4. And I'm just going to quickly go through number 5 because it's so much more involved. But if you are looking to create a t-shirt quilt for a special graduate or maybe a teacher that's retiring that has all of the shirts of their schooling or teaching career, it is such a great keepsake gift for any graduate, a great time of year to get started. Graduations are going to be, upon us as early as a few weeks from now. So if you need some guidance on making a t-shirt quilt, we have a full video cast that takes you through how to prepare t-shirts for sewing, how to embroider to embellish them as well, how to make sure they're stable enough so that you can match different t-shirt types, different fabric types, different t-shirt sizes, all of those great things. Plus, when you register for this video cast, which by the way is only $5.99, you will get an embroidery collection that's really great for a student, a sports lover, things like this. You will also get a 5-in-1 t-shirt quilt pattern. There are 5 patterns in one. So different ways of arranging blocks from t-shirts that showcase the t-shirt motif that utilize the excess t-shirt material throughout the quilt, and then ways of creating personalized labels as well. So this is really a jam-packed video cast for only $5.99. And this just makes a really, really great gift. Incidentally, I plan on gifting my son the quilt that you see here when he graduates from 8th grade this year and moves to high school. Oh, help me, everyone. I'm about to have a high schooler. Whew. So hopefully he loves his t-shirt quilt. And of course, I'm going to be taking so many pictures of him opening it. So hopefully he will smile for at least one of them, and I can share that with you. All right. Well, I hope that I've given you a lot of inspiration for today, for creating graduation gifts and gifts for all ages, all areas of schooling. And I hope that you grab up all these tutorials and all of these sessions over at sewingonline.sulky.com. And be sure to tune in next week for another So What. Thanks for watching, everyone.